How old is she?
She said,
Okay. Now we're ready.
yes.
Are ready to get started. You'll have the agenda. I don't think we need to do introductions today. Nobody extra in here. Yeah.
Yeah, really try. I had talked to Nick yesterday. He wasn't available to come today. So I'm trying to like figure out. And then I did send, it was for my cruise though, a message to, what's his name? I have to look it up by Best Buy. Yeah. Because they were starting a business with like like garden box building consulting. So I was like, oh, that'd be good for you to, but yeah. So I think since if we can go on to that, since we haven't had anybody new, I think that'll be my try next month is just to go into like the members and like, hey,
That's a good idea.
you know, like just
Even if that's a good idea.
like join us at like just picking a couple. Yeah, so maybe you and I can get on a call together and just go through some of the farmers. Like I really want to get some of the producers in the conversation
for sure.
as we dig into these
Our goals.
but then as we dig into these articles, having a farmer's perspective and then understanding, I think will make it a much stronger plan that we try to do. So maybe that'll be one of our action items, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So that'll be
even like for building that network of producers for when we actually try to connect them with, like, you know what I mean? Like just having a farmer who can has other farmer friends will help us, you know.
I reached out to somebody called Jessica Zachariah.
From the
yes, I may mispronounce it. If you're watching this, I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name. Because I guess Monica ran into her while she was walking in the park. She thought it would be a good idea to.
So Monica, like ran into somebody.
Didn't start out of the conversation.
I had a Monica moment the other day. I was in a meeting and they were talking about a platform to communicate and post events, and I'm like, I have a platform. You.
When I talked to the Toledo people I mentioned I talked to, I mentioned how great the mobilized platform was. And I sent her, I told her to sign on so she could check it out. Because I was like, that is just, I don't know how you could communicate with all the various stakeholders without having something like that. Where people can just casually.
Well, for better.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone's like, take me off the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can just like pop in, see what's going on.
No, and I signed up for whenever anybody says anything in the economic development group, it sends me so most of the time I just scroll, but once in a while, like when Monica was like, reach out to this person, it was like, hello.
Right, yeah, reminds you.
Somebody's talking to you over here.
Yeah, so she just sent us an email to Monica on to post for a webinar, so I'll take care of that if you want me to.
Okay, sure.
Since you took the last to do, that was it's like a rural grocery initiative, which is really kind of interesting because we were having some conversations about that. So I think it'll be really cool. Yeah, so no introductions, but a way that we can maybe get some people that we can get to introduce.
Yes. I didn't hear back from her, but I'm sure that it's random to get an email from somebody or somebody else who told you about it.
Yeah.
For next time, I did just kind of want to tell you guys, like, go over the projects that were selected.
Yes.
You may notice that only one of them looks familiar to you. The top two scores for economic development had higher scores than other.
I was wondering, like, where's skill?
Yeah, yeah. So they had higher scores in other working groups. So we only wanted to award them one award, so they didn't have to do two projects at once in such a short time period. So we gave 3, I believe, to food production. They had the most applications and they had the highest scores. So that was kind of how, and we balanced, like the funding as well. So we ended up with the community produce at the Healthy Neighborhood Store, which was a sustainable living project. So that was somebody who applied to this one.
But her project wasn't that with us.
Right. It was that this was for food access.
Hers was interns with us.
Yeah, hers was interns.
Hers was interns.
Right.
Okay.
So she applied 3 different projects.
Got it. Because I feel like that project aligned with our Like I haven't
And
read
that's
what
kind of
hers
what- yeah.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's interesting. Okay.
There's definitely overlap, and some of them
Yeah.
I was kind of like, maybe they could have applied for economic development because you guys had less, but you just don't know.
Yeah,
Or,
for
Right.
sure.
Well,
like, you guys have-
and then can we, so is there a way to review like what projects were outside of ours approved? So then that way we can kind of like, as economic development, maybe lean into food access and say, hey,
For sure.
can you give us some data for this,
Yeah.
right? Because that will help
Mhm.
us with what we're looking for
For
projects.
sure. And so everyone who's awarded a mini grant has to give us like a data management plan, a report. Actually, I was like, let me look at the checklist of everything we do, because we did a training with them yesterday.
Oh, that's cool.
So just so that everyone had, like a solid foundation so that they're set up for success. So we did like a timeline, an evaluation plan, and then they also have to do like a fiscal report. And then throughout there's gonna be a check-in in October to kind of tell us how their projects are going. And we kind of talked about maybe letting, if anyone is available from the working groups who wants to be part of that check-in, because it'll be virtual, to like tune in. And that was probably a good spot as well. And then at the end of like in December, they're gonna have to check in with the working group that they got their award from.
Okay.
So if you guys want to virtually listen to Food Access because you want to hear this one, or you can listen to them, or you can watch them on YouTube because I will be recording all of them. Because I learned the magic trick of pushing the automatic record button. So we have that one, and so the Healthy Neighborhood Store is like a goal for Food Access. Like it's very explicit goal, so that's why it got put in there. But it's definitely relevant, I think, to you all as well. And so then that testing for Hillsborough County students through Farm Ed was for you all. It's pretty like they're providing tests, which is, I think this is like some type of agriculture test. And then we have our friend Janine got the Cultivating Your Brand digital marketing tag. Well done. So she's going to be doing some classes for specifically targeted at farmers for how they can do marketing. And then 813 Hood Garden has a Young Seeds program. It's basically like a kids program at a garden to try to help them with learning about gardening, learning about, eating healthy foods, that type of stuff. And then Tampa Family Health Centers, it has, they're doing like a food manager certificate. It's probably the wrong word, but it's like basically if you work in like a restaurant and you're a manager, you have to have a higher one. Yeah, so it's not, that's probably a food safety manager.
That's awesome.
And so she's doing that for herself and her intern because they do a lot of like demos out there.
Yeah.
So she felt that food safety is really important. And then finally we have From Garden to Kitchen, which is Tiffany Miller. She is doing like food education, like a mobile food education type of thing.
That's cool.
And she's just starting, so this is kind of some.
So who's her target audience for that?
I don't remember what it's like.
I can look it up later. I just was curious.
I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say, I should be able to look at it quickly, but she applied through food production as well.
I think food production, because she was in the presentation that one day with me.
Yeah. She applied through food production. Okay, her target audience is homeschool families. It's particularly those who don't have. Okay. So yeah, her target audience is homeschool families, but yes, you're right. She did apply through food production.
That's pretty cool.
So those are our 6 awardees, and like I mentioned, we're providing technical assistance. And some of the projects are more cut and dry than others, so some may need more technical assistance than others. So we're providing that. But I just wanted to go over those projects with you and kind of let you know what's going on. And if you are interested in, observing or coming, some events are public, some aren't, like the Young Seeds program, I think you'd have to be like approved to be in schools or something like that to be there. And like the Tampa Family Health Center, you can't go to the class, but you could go to one of the classes that they host. Like you can't go to the food certification class, but you could go to their class after.
Yes.
And see them.
To see their
doing-
results.
Exactly. Yeah. So like you can imagine which things and
That's really cool.
yeah, so if you are interested in any of those, keep an eye out. We do want them to post on the platform. I'm sure we'll be promoting their events as well through like our newsletter and stuff. If they want us to, of course. That's right. And I think that's it unless you guys have any questions about the mini grant. People
No.
feel good about it.
Yes.
Appreciate your team player attitudes of letting some other working groups award a little bit more, and like there's overlap as we know. So in the future, we might also try to, I think we kind of talked about, let me close this so she can see. We talked about doing letters of intent instead of just full on applications.
Oh,
So you can kind of, we could kind of push people more in the right direction. Like if they applied through Grid Access, and be like, well, this is more like a economic development, apply through them instead of this one. And then
That's a
so,
good idea.
right, so we don't have to read through 20 applications for each group. We can just read the one, whatever, how long, 1 or 2 page letter of intent. And then from there, invite people to apply further.
Which is pretty standard.
Right, especially,
Yeah.
when we're going for more money, we don't want people to waste
Right.
time and stuff like that. And we also provided some feedback to those who didn't get the awards who asked for it.
Good.
So hopefully they take it for the next chance. Yeah. All right. That's it for our mini grants. For October, this is not available, like the whole ECC is rented out. So where do you guys want to meet? I think we mentioned this last time, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think
Did you like
I reserved the room at the city. Yeah, I have a room reserved if you want to use it. Awesome.
is that good with everyone? Same room as our first meeting?
Yeah, and I will have parking validation. So no one.
What does that mean?
Okay, so you have to park in the Fort Brook parking garage. So that's the big huge one.
Fort Brook, okay.
Type it. I'll update the meeting invite. But yeah, if you park in Fort Brook, we can give you a parking space.
That's great.
That's all night, right?
Kimberly, we're already talking about October.
I know.
Like, make it stop.
I know.
Man. Sounds on that date.
Oh, you're making nervous now.
No,
Like
it's probably just personally, right?
Yes.
So many dates, because as we go in, now that we're in season, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay, and then last time we also mentioned reviewing the meeting time going forward. You guys were on time today, great job. In the past, it's been a lot of people are late, we have some issues here and there, and we kind of talked about if we're interested in changing the meeting time going forward, or if this still is okay for everyone. I don't know, I'll just open the discussion.
I couldn't go earlier, I'd have to go
Okay.
later if we change the meeting time.
That's what I was trying to remember last minute, because I remembered you do something before something with
Yeah,
harvest or something.
And now that we're now that we're in season, like I'm out Thursday morning sourcing, we make a Plant City trip and then we unload. So 11's the earliest for me, which is pretty.
Yeah, I just have something in the morning too, so I could go anywhere till 4 anytime on Thursday. So
If we put it later, I would have to end at 2:30.
2:30. Okay.
Any thoughts?
I can make it work. However the team wants, I can try my best to bend, or if I'm hearing correctly, earlier is not possible, but we're looking at pushing it back. Is that what
Yeah,
we're
like
considering?
later in the afternoon.
Later in the
Like-
afternoon.
Oh, so 2:30. So while
You
you
guys
guys.
be done by 2:30?
Mm-hmm.
So then the latest we could start was
12:30.
12:30, yeah.
Is that
Whatever you guys want to do. So I think we're voting to keep it as is or change it. I think those are the options.
Yeah. I mean, I
Change
think
it to
that
later.
would later be better for you?
It might be a little better.
Okay, let's switch it then.
I
Let's do
could-
12 to 2 then. We'll just push it back that hour. Gives
Yeah.
us that time.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Yeah, and that's easy because 12 is like,
It's kind of like a lunch
hour, so like it'll
Yeah.
be easier for,
It'll be easier for me to break away too, because I can like loop it all into my lunch.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, we'll try that then. So we'll start that on the 9th?
That was my question. I was like, is the meeting room available? And then,
to move it.
yeah, if we move
Let me
it.
do.
Otherwise, and I'll have to move here for the rest of the year, which is like 2 more times, I think.
So 12 to 2. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, just so you guys know, it'll be on the 3rd floor, so the same place we met last time. Check with the police officer and downstairs,
Hopefully that helps us all try to get, like I said, you guys do great today. But usually you have at least one straggler, sometimes more. So.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be late. It really depends on that I-4,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
because I happen, like, if I-4. That's so, it's a crazy ramp. Like, what are they doing? Like, of all the
Who
ramps.
understands the traffic here? Traffic here is just
No. Is your daughter driving?
not yet.
Yeah,
I'm nervous about it.
my son's 22. He's been it's scary. He drives to Clearwater almost every day
Yeah.
from West Chapel.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. And then new developments, readings, and other learning outcomes. So I think one of the biggest developments was the MAHA strategy was released. I don't know if anybody saw that. I don't know if that's something that's appropriate to post on the platform. I can do that. So there was two that were released. One was the Make America Healthy Again overview, and then Make America Healthy Again for Children.
Okay.
And there's a lot of conversation in there with public-private partnership within the different programs that will be coming out. So you have like the MAHA boxes, which is healthy, nutritious food, kind of what happened during COVID, funded boxes, but there's a huge focus on sourcing local for those boxes. So they say that, but then on the other side, they're looking for infrastructure that can support like the entire state or the entire region. So then that comes into the struggle with getting that money locally for those farmers. So a lot of the way it looks is like food as medicine coalitions and food as health coalitions. The more established and larger groups can essentially go after that as pilot projects. So we're working with the Food as Health Coalition in the state of Florida. So we're in charge of regions C and D, which include Hillsborough, Region C is Pinellas and Pasco. Region D is Hillsborough, Polk. I should have brought the map. I can pull it up. But we're potentially going to hand that off to the well. So where that would be two organizations that have like a pretty big spot in the state. I'm going to pull up what that map looks like. But the reason why I'm mentioning it with our goals, there's an opportunity with identifying either a federally qualified health care. So like in Pasco and Hernando, it's Premier. That's one of our big ones. So I don't know who is that, like who is the, like, you know, I don't want to say free healthcare, but they're like Premier is a pay what you can scale model, right? So if you don't have health insurance, and they're called federally qualified.
Would it be the Tampa
Yeah,
Health Center?
Yeah, that's the only one I know of. So kind of the thought there is with our goals is can we work with or start to research Tampa health centers in the lifestyle medicine side if they have a lifestyle medicine component, and if they don't, who does? And maybe we can use that as like a retail outlet and where we can look at local farmers. So the food as medicine, food as health stuff within that, I think is a huge opportunity for pilot and potential like funding. Well, and as you lean into this, so, and that's the thing too. So that's why these, this coalition, and I posted, I had posted that a while ago on like the Food as Medicine report and in a webinar on the platform. Let me pull up this. Because as we're thinking of like system changes, this does have that potential pilot to expand. So I will post this report and then we can look up who the federally qualified. But I think that's why I want to get farmers into our meeting. So if we did go through,
That makes sense.
Like, we want to have their voice at the table because we're noticing as we go through some of these articles, there's some opportunities there, right? Like if farmers are only making $10,000 a year, like how are they able to invest that as their full-time job?
It's interesting that they wanted to be regional or like in that way, because then it kind of kills the small companies again, when you're trying to.
Well, and it's it's kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, if it's okay to post it's like a PDF though versus a link. I have to find the link to the strategy. Okay, I'll do that. But
Always like do a screenshot of like the first page or something
okay,
to have like an image on it to make it
perfect.
look nicer sometimes on the platform. It helps to just have like a picture.
That's a good idea. I was trying to post something and it was looking weird, so I stopped, but that's a good idea. I can screenshot and then just put it at the bottom.
That's what I do a lot. I'm like, here's a picture because it just looks kind of blah and like
But
people
that
just
doesn't
like,
call attention when it's just a link.
exactly. Yeah.
And then let's see. So
Yeah. I think as long as you don't like, I don't think that the comments will turn into like a bunch of political.
well, that's and there's what's interesting, right? Because it's literally like, and when this was like announced, just to go on a little tangent, it was announced at the same time they like were having the vaccine conversation. So what I've really tried to do is look at it from the crack in the door and how is like there is a crack in the door. So how do we kind of get in to and have the knowledge of what that crack is,
Verbiage needed.
and then like kind of insert ourselves because Florida is one of the biggest agricultural states, right? So how do we, as an organization that's already been established, kind of insert ourselves and say, hey, we're kind of ready for this, right? We have 250 people in the network. We have all the stakeholders in place. So this is a potential opportunity. And then what is that? The opportunity could be investment in the infrastructure to support that. But that is where we're, and so that's why I try not to post anything like politically driven, but that is like a guiding post for where these funds are going to be, right? So like if it says local farmers in there, we can reference that, we might be able to have some of that, I guess some of that light come to us. And then the USDA Food Hub one. So I thought that was very interesting because it's updated, right? So like the article we were looking at was like almost 10 years old, 8 or 9 years old. So I think I put it in resources. So yeah, Tampa Healthcare, so Tampa Family Health Centers.
And we do have a good connection there, I think.
Okay, perfect.
Nicole from doing the food safety thing works at Tampa Family Health.
Oh, perfect. So I'm mixing that up with Tampa General then.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, because I thought automatically went to the well and Tampa General and
we should work with both of them.
yeah, absolutely. I think Monica may have she sent a note on my posting with the right.
It's just the way that
So there's one
that it was
that
worth,
posted,
which I think a lot of the time
so maybe an hour.
we don't take enough time to strategize, and then
Oh,
I think that's what's so cool. When I attended that workshop, which you're gonna see it in the retreat or that first conference, with the maps and how they.
Yeah.
It's like, this is
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, okay, so Christina's mentioned with the post. So
Did you went to you're saying you went to a event?
Where?
You were just saying
The boss we were talking about.
Oh, no, we were just talking about how cool the well is.
Honestly, that's what we were talking
Well, that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to go by there after here today because I think that they're open Monday through Friday, like every day at Tampa General, to see their their food pharmacy.
Oh, I think
They do, and it's open every day.
Oh, yeah, we partner with them.
Yeah.
The food pharmacy, yes, Denise.
I think because you said the well. So
You
I'm like,
said the well, so
so
now
it's
you
like-
confused me. That's
sounds
not.
like the well, like well, the cities. But then I'm like, but
So-
they're Tampa well. And I'm like, which one?
Well-built cities is so well-built cities and Dahlia is
Right.
who we're in conversation with to take
Okay.
one of the regions.
Cool.
Okay, so let me.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Tampa
Tampa
General.
well.
No, they're called the Temple Well, yeah,
Yes.
because I thought you were talking about Dahlia's
Yeah,
and Savannah's organization,
And it's
yeah.
like common name.
But Dahlia, they work with the Tampa Well, right?
Yeah. That's what I have to, no, see, thank you for clarifying. Yes, the Tampa well is pretty amazing with their outdoor classroom and the garden and the food pharmacy is really.
And where they're located, that's what I love, right? Like that is where that type of resource.
That's what we need in every community, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so with this, there's actually a podcast I was listening to on the way. So there's 4 episodes, really interesting because they have each of the food hubs. So there's 4 main food hubs. If you see, they have it's on the bottom there. So you can go in at the end. So I started at the end of the article first because it told me about like the Common Market, Food Shed, Red Tomato, Share Farm, Valley Hub. And, the interesting part was the Valley, which one was nationally? Common Market is a national, well, I guess regional, where they have 5 food hubs it started in Pennsylvania. They have one in Texas. They have one in Georgia. So they have like East Coast food hubs, which is really cool. So they're one of the only ones that have been able to scale their model to a larger region. So that I found that really interesting. But that if you go in, there's a link to the podcast as well, which they're short episodes. I listened to the first one on my way here. It's like 20 minutes, but it's called the Food Hub Podcast. Really good. And it kind of really walks you through, like when you go through this, it really does give you the full toolkit. Like I'm going to use this to update my plan because of course if your plan aligns with the USDA and you're going for USDA fund like type of funding, it helps. But and then all the links kind of bring you.
Oh yeah, I really like it, like Resilience Advisor.
Yeah, and one of the things if you go to
and they're short, digestible episodes.
Yeah. And then so if you go in like the founder hat, this is something like a check for me, right? So one of the things is like we've thrown a lot of spaghetti on the wall and we've like tried to be so many things to so many people because there's such a need and really understanding our lane, right? And like
that's so true.
It is. So
you gotta perfect that lane before you
and like but finding that lane in this work is really hard.
Yeah.
So
especially because it's so intersected and like just look at our grant. You know, like
and like then I'm getting, calls from I think that the reason the healthcare side of things is really picking up for us because we have in Pasco, we have all your major healthcare brands coming in as new. So they're coming in trying to make like an impact. So like, oh, can you help with this? Oh, what does this look like? But what I like about that is because we've tried all the different things, now we kind of know what's profitable, what's sustainable, and what's impactful. And one of the things, just kind of going back within the food as medicine side of things, is the impact. So most of these programs and the funding, like how we're asking them for impact data, is determining health outcomes. So how are we gathering data to show economic development and health health outcomes? But the quote's really cool. It says, what I see often with startup food hubs or aspiring food system programs is that they're often trying to be too many things to too many people or too many constituents. And they end up not actually adding value to any one of them or significant value. And so I would say find your niche, right? So as we're building this out, kind of finding our niche. Is our niche direct to the corner store? Is our niche getting into the healthcare system here in Hillsborough County? Is our niche working on a program that can provide education and access because SNAP-Ed is, right? So do we partner with 813 and what she's doing and then have local growers get a grant to be able to provide those kids with extra food and what that really looks like. So from a program standpoint, that's what I was thinking, but I found this very interesting. And then the success stories are typically with a educational partner, which is normally it's a community college, not a university, which I found very interesting. And then healthcare partners. So it's kind of what we've seen a little bit with what the well is doing, what what well-built cities and the well is doing with the well, right? So I think that's pretty great. And how they really focus on education, right? So I love the huge focus on the
Yeah, thanks for
education.
sharing. I'm gonna dig into that.
This is really, I
Yeah.
mean, it's really good. And then if you go in, like there's tons of other resource guides that like you can click into and then you can read the case study and then, but they work. So that's the resounding overview was they work, which I think is phenomenal to hear, like that they can work and that they're, you know, because we think about feasibility studies and different things, that it's almost like the feasibility studies have been done, right? So
Yeah, it's true. You can find the one that has the closest, you know,
Mhm.
population and growth
Yep.
and everything. So
absolutely.
yeah,
Cool.
awesome. I also would like to point you guys to this webinar. Monica and I watched it and we were so like it was so interesting. I don't know if anyone got a chance to watch it, but it's basically about like food hubs and food safety and how they scale. So they kind of gave us like a real world example and talked about how she showed us pictures too, and it was so interesting. It was like we started in like this little tiny thing. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna talk about.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, you guys saw it.
That's the one I was gonna talk about because
Oh, yeah, go for it.
that was the comment that I liked the most. She's like, just start with what you have. And then don't worry if you're out of compliance. And she's like, I don't know who's in the room. But,
Yeah.
but I understood what she meant. It's
Right.
like sometimes you get so stuck in trying to do everything so perfect and she's just keep moving forward. So I appreciated her openness when she was talking about that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times you're creating the system, right? So
Mhm.
that was something that she had said too, is like sometimes they didn't know because it wasn't the answer and then the answer came. But I thought that was huge because it actually shifted our thoughts of like, what do we need immediately? Well, I don't need a food hub immediately. I need a smaller space that I could throw a refrigerator in, right? Like they walk in with maybe a small prep area that's a commercial kitchen. I can find that at a church, right? So,
Yeah.
and maybe that church is struggling, or I can find that in another resource location within our county. So that might be something as we're looking at food hub stuff, especially knowing what's happening with like CRA and all of that, is finding that collaborative partnership to kind of start small in like sublease the space.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I mean, gotta look at other options, you know, so.
And if you can do it small, you can do it bigger, right? Like,
Yeah.
You know, show it.
Correct.
Happen at a small scale.
Yeah,
before you throw
And
some
that's
money
the
into it.
problem is that you need to like show those,
Concept,
proof
yeah.
of concept.
And that's
exactly.
where we're at. It's interesting because it's just, that is where we're at right now. Like proof of concepts there. I have,
Know what you're doing in Pasco, like.
Yeah.
and we're just doing it at a very small scale, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 refrigerated trailers. One is now mobile, one is an extra trailer. But what's really interesting is the demand in programs. So now if I can show the demand in programs, then if I have a big purchase order, I can go to maybe a private
Well, that's a
investor.
good idea. So are you just have like on Pasco County land, you just, or no, it's that other person that farms.
No, I do it on my,
You're
I don't know who's in the room, but I'm zoned ag residential. So I right now am doing it on my property.
Okay, so the people come there to grab it.
People out and then we distribute.
Okay.
So people come to our property for our farm stand. And then we have a mobile market that we start October, where we'll be going out to 3 locations in rural food insecure areas. And then we also have 2 other programs that I think is ideal to build out for even our local farmers going in we go into elementary schools, and before it was SNAP Ed was being taught for 6 weeks. And then we would come in and bring produce as an incentive, but that produce was paid for. So I was able to reach out to 2 farmers that I work with in Fresno. One does hydroponic lettuce, and I would buy 500 heads of lettuce from him a week, which is great because the catering businesses were very slow. So it's a nice balance for him. And then we're also able to do like microgreens and different things because that's what we wanted.
I was thinking that would be like a solution for the city with not being able to get land is if we could just get refrigerated trucks and like put it out to one of our network partners, yourself even, who would like to come help with that. But like, how much would those trucks cost?
I would say vans versus trucks because it's a lot easier to repair those. So they're between $30,000 and $60,000.
That is
You can get
doable.
Yeah, they're not that expensive. It really is not.
So, I would say the immediate need for infrastructure is a subleased location.
Yeah, which I mean, we could just put it at like a city park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that would be an easy way to
And
get
then
some
the
food.
other thing that you might want to look at from the city standpoint, and maybe talk about sidebar, might be something is how the Tampa Well has a food pharmacy. So these micro grocery stores, which are like the size of a small shipping container or a shed, right? So you think about a storage shed, maybe it's 10 by 20 or 16 by 20, and it's a very small grocery store where you have your produce, you walk in, you have your basics, and that's not a large footprint.
Yeah.
So if you have, this aligns with kind of what we're thinking about doing, because we're trying to find like retail outlets for local growers, right? Yeah. So that might be an option to look at it from an economic development standpoint, because wherever you put that shed, you potentially could have 2 or 3 jobs there.
Yeah, have you guys heard of Nimble Retail? They're actually based here they're super cool. So Tampa Developer Podcast, they have an episode with them. I recommend listening to
Tampa Developer
Podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
I know a lot about podcasts today, right? But so Nimble Retail, they are launching, it takes up the space of like a parking spot. And it is like, it takes them like a couple hours to just throw up this building, like little building. It's like a tiny business. And they have it for salons or retail front, and for, what was the other one? Like a retail front and like a cafe. Yeah. And so they've launched 2. They built, like, it was like this couple's hobby during COVID.
Really? Cafe boutique.
It's super cool. And so they've launched 2. One's going to be at Water Street, and when they have it all set up at Water Street, they were saying that they were going to have the city come out and like check it out, because that is such an amazing opportunity. But their problem is like they've announced this. Everyone and their mom is like so interested in it, because it's such a great concept and idea, that they're trying to figure out the production issues. Like, how can they, because I'm pretty sure the man built it himself and like the prototype. And so he's trying to figure out that. So they're like not quite ready to scale up, but they're working on it. And when they are, like, it would be so much more feasible for Tampa to be their like starting point than another area where they have to ship all of these out, and it's a local company. It's like,
and from a food insecurity standpoint, that might be able to be their farm.
Yeah, right? My idea was to pitch to the city that we buy a bunch of them and then and pop them all over town, and like let people rent them for like 2 years, like only. And that's supposed to be like a scale up thing. Like, you're here for 2 years, but you need to find yourself a bigger storefront. Spot 2 to 5 years, whatever we decide is feasible. But like, that was like, but yeah, super cool.
And we could do that with food and food production, especially if the city's helping with the cost and then the rents, right? Maybe that's a grant.
Yeah. That's what we would be like, help with the rent.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And if they are looking to scale, this could potentially be a pilot location, because we do have urban and rural areas in Hillsborough.
But I'll let you know when the Water Street, when they reach back out to me, let me know the Water Street one's up and running, and we can maybe, check It was really interesting.
If you go in Wesley Chapel, we have this interesting concept called the crates, and they're all like shipping container restaurants. There's been a high rate of failure in those simply because the cost is so much, right? So like, this new business is going in a small space, but they're paying downtown Tampa prices.
That's what I think like is the problem with this too, is that I think they talk about the pricing in the podcast. I don't remember, but it was like 3,000, something like that. It was high. So that's when like the city needs to buy them. Yeah. Subsidized, so actually like lower income regular Joe Schmoes can like add that to their monthly expenses on top of their regular stuff, you know. So yeah, but
I love that.
Yeah,
What was the name of this?
Nimble Retail.
Oh, Nimble. So cool. I'm like, why can't I find it?
I love that. Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Partnership and
like
learning.
In the podcast, they have people from all over the country, like being like, look, let us come down and see these things. Like, everyone's so excited, which is good for them, man. Like, like a little hobby and COVID, and now you have like a full-fledged business that people are like begging for you to like, come on, figure it out.
And that becomes the hard part, is the scale. So even during COVID, people going to these like local growers, right? And then how do we scale that up?
Yeah.
And so that would be very, very interesting. Very cool. I love that. I think that's a huge opportunity. So even from as we have bigger grants coming and different things as outlets in these food deserts or low income, low access areas, whatever term we're using now, would be really, and then the infrastructure support. So, okay, so we'll have 4 of these. That's going to be food. So to service those 4, we need, these farms are going to be the primary people we source from. And then what do we need infrastructure wise? Trucks, refrigerator trailer in a small space.
Yeah.
To support that.
Yeah.
Okay. That might be a 5. But just as we think bigger economic.
Yeah, and that's like probably the years down the line. Like, hopefully sooner. But...
I mean, the city said to them, "Here's a contract for 5. We want 5."
The problem is like the city's budget process. Like we are finalized. Like we submit our budget requests in March for the following year, and so it's like everything that we're doing in 2026 is already decided. You know, and was decided in March. So you're thinking 2 years ahead of time.
So is there anything that we can leverage in that's coming in 2026 for?
Well, it hasn't been finalized.
Okay.
Like it hasn't been approved by council. So we give our recommendations to the mayor. The mayor chops them down and then gives them to council. And if I'm being honest, we don't really even pay attention to the final thing. It gets through. So like I don't know where the chopping has even gotten, what they've approved.
When it gets there,
so.
we'll look at it.
Yeah. Next month though, it will be approved. So.
It's true. This season is so. You want me to plan what?
I know.
So far in.
Yeah.
Any other new developments or anything? That was pretty good discussion, I think.
Yeah, anything you can follow. Food is medicine, food is health. If you're on LinkedIn, there's a couple of people I really highly recommend that you follow if you're interested in
That
those.
was the one that you recommended.
Clancy, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Ellen Brown. So if you're want to go on the LinkedIn, these are like people who are in Washington in the rooms as these strategies are being, I guess, hashed out, right? And like, just, hey, don't forget about the local farmer. And the huge conversation, the other one is her name is Erin Martin. And she's really making sure like regenerative farming is at the main conversation.
Yes. Yeah. Food equality.
Mm-hmm. And what Ellen Brown and her partner, Carter Williams, do is now they're looking at tech investments, health tech. So they're calling it agri-tech and agri-health. I think that's the term, agri-health. How we can ensure that farmers are at the table in these conversations. So they're very, very active in what they post, and very, I would say, trustworthy sources, because they literally will post direct like links where you can go and like read the report, and then they dissect the report, and of course they give their editorial and commentary. But it really does, they do a lot of it through an economic development lens. So how can we get an investor or a group to invest in a project that impacts food and food access, not just for food insecurity, but just as a community, with high level investment to pilot and get this stuff started. Like really, really good. So I think that they're just really great people to follow if you're on LinkedIn.
I was in a meeting with the community foundation yesterday. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with them, but they were saying that they last year alone, from private donations, like corporate sponsors, whatever, philanthropists, it was like $90 million they put back into the community. So I'm like, maybe that's something we should, and it's all for nonprofits. So like, maybe that's something we should push out to our network, is that those grants and stuff are there, because that's a lot of money that they're putting back into the Tampa community. And I'm sure food security is one of, like, you know what I mean? That's definitely going to be something they want to invest in. So
have we discussed the recent cut of SNAP and how that's coming to
so
an
one of
end?
the things that we've done, so I know 5 educators who lost their jobs.
Wow.
So 4 from UF-IFAS, 1 from Feeding Tampa Bay. And it's public, it's posted, like they're looking for new jobs. And so what we actually did with one of our partnerships is this summer, when we heard that the cuts were coming, we wrote a grant with a program So a program sponsorship with Johns Hopkins All Children's because they're coming to Wesley Chapel. And what it was, it allowed us to work with a partner. Her name is Bola. She teaches like the Dr. Sears Lean method, but her program is Eat Good, Look Good, Feel Good. And she's been in a lot of low income communities, really working in marginalized areas and developed really strong programs for both seniors and kids. And it incorporates physical activity and nutrition education. So we did a 6-week pilot where we didn't use SNAP-Ed, where we used her kind of program and figured this out with like food tastings and different things. And we did it with the YMCA with 50 kids, and we also did it with the Joshua House, which is technically in Hillsborough County. But it was incredible, actually. So then we were able, UF reached out, so I did an interview with them about how upset and sad I was that this program went away because it does impact the kids. Mm-hmm. The issue that I'm learning as I dig into the reasons why certain things are being cut is the data didn't show the needle being moved. So the way the data was being collected, we've been investing a lot of money into SNAP-Ed, billions and billions of dollars, but our students and children are more obese, more like less educated than they were. So where's that disconnect? Why is that not moving the needle is my understanding with it. So we kind of worked, we also did a program with the seniors. So Feeding Tampa Bay was not able to execute their educational component of a contract that we already, like a class we already had set up with Advent Health. So my organization, me, Leah's Pantry, so eatfresh.org is a really great spot to go for some of the SNAP-Ed education that they were using. And we did Leah's Pantry. So I became a certified instructor for Leah's Pantry. But it's just interesting when you dig in, like it was a 95-page participant model. And the class that we're teaching right now, when I asked, and it is all Black women in Tarpon Springs, right? Mount Moriah Church is where we're teaching it. And when we asked our first question, like, how many people have received nutrition education before? Only 2 hands out of the 25 went up. This is all through life in their school.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so schooling and life. And these are women that are in their 60s because this is a senior class. So as I learned more about SNAP-Ed and jumped in, now I know more about the problems behind the program and then the community, what the needs of the community are. So the long answer for it's when you read the Maha report, education is in there. So it does talk about education with children and a lot of that piece. So maybe we'll see it come back, right? I don't know how it will come back or what that will look like, but it is in there as a funding strategy.
Yeah. I just think it's so interesting that, I think these types of programs are very specific as to, okay, you can get funds, but you can only use it for this purpose. Yeah. And so when you have such a valuable thing, right, you gotta put away some funds to actually like let people know it's there. Right. And I think that's part of the issue is that people out of sight, out of mind, right? So if you're only limited to talking about this to people who are just coming in, how are you doing outreach? Because you can't expect people just to wake up one day and know it's there. You have to dedicate some funds to marketing it, right? Like you have to get it in front of your audience. You have to do outreach. You have to engage the media. You have to, you just need tools. People aren't just going to know. So I feel like a lot of times these funds are available, but they're very rigid. They're like, okay, you can't use this to do promotions. You can't use these funds to, and I think that is such a big disservice. Yeah. And people don't know about it. Yeah. And so it doesn't get used. And then things like this happen where it's just like, well, we're not seeing the ROI. Like, we're investing millions of dollars in it, but we still have like the obesity numbers or whatever. And well,
I think most of those programs are going to places where people already were at, right? So like the schools, programs, but you're right, with the Mount Moriah one that we're doing, we had to have a champion essentially. And she was a volunteer who was out in the community going, come to this, right? And bringing the flyers to some of the healthcare locations in different places. But yeah, you either have to have a community champion to get people to come. And once they're there, they're there. Like we've only had 2 people fall off and we're 4 weeks in the class. So I think but once they're there, they're excited because they're building that community. But the marketing around it could make it much bigger if it was the marketing. Absolutely. And you're right. There's no funding even for the instruction right now, because these programs were written beforehand, the budgets were written beforehand, that this program should have already been provided for free because we have a partnership with SNAP educators. So now that becomes an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I just think now you go. You try to go first.
I think that a lot of the times we forget how to track data in substantial ways. Like one of my pet peeves is these surveys where like, do you feel like you're growing your knowledge? Gauge 1 through 5. That doesn't really say anything. So when you're, oh yeah, we did nutrition education. What did you do? We passed out recipes. Really? And then what happened with it? Shoved in the bottom of the bag. And then, so I think a lot of the reasons these programs got cut is because of things like that. You can't show data, but how are you tracking the data?
Yeah.
So then you can't show.
And what's valuable data? So now what's valuable data to these healthcare companies that are looking to invest trillions of dollars, right? So that's where we're at now, is anybody and it was with us too, right? As we're doing these grants, is what is that valuable data set that we want to learn from that investment in that program? So I think that as we build out is
it's important to think about.
Really important. And then how can we use that data to go after bigger pots of money? Because hey, we got the data that this healthcare company is really interested in, right? I don't know, the A1C went down because they completed 12 weeks of this program, or
Could you really truly have to partner with a hospital because they're the ones that can do those tests and do everything to actually capture it?
So that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out from a workforce development standpoint is how do you get somebody that can do the data collection at the beginning, teach the class, maybe even just bring the produce, right? They're bringing bundle produce. Like, how can that person all be one person?
Yeah.
And that comes down to public-private partnership, because you can maybe hire somebody for 10 hours a week as an extra side job, right? Little side gig, and work with a nurse that can come out and do like a biometric screening. And I was told that like even students, so nursing students, like to do a basic biometric screening doesn't have to be a nurse, but most of these programs should be ran by a dietitian.
Yeah.
And dietitians should be paid a lot of money because they're RDNs now, right? So understanding that piece of it, it's like there's a lot from a funding standpoint to, I guess,
again, it goes back to education. I think we need to, it's what I was telling Amanda when we were crossing the street. I think we need to start pushing back on the line, educating funders about the actual needs and saying, hey, you can't just fund this, because in order for this program to run efficiently, these things need to be in place. Because these are the results you want to see, but by giving me money to do this without putting this in, we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And it goes back to pushing back, right?
And that's, I think, important as we build out our goals. What are the goals of our project? The goal of our project is to get food into, like, help local growers get food into new retail locations. But from an economic development standpoint, to educate funders of what's needed, right? So I think that's important as we look into going into our project and our goals, is how can we really leverage the data to make bigger things happen
and understand the barriers and understanding barriers. Because it's just like what you said. I mean, you can have all the data, but if you don't even understand what those challenges are, just kind of going back to a program like SNAP, just because we were talking about it, a lot of times in these communities, folks don't even have transportation, right? to get to the program. Maybe it's not even that they don't know about it or they don't want to join. It's just that how are they going to get from point A to point B without a vehicle in Florida,
Right.
or maybe they're having to cross 6 lanes of traffic and there's no way for them to get there. So just understanding, and even just from like an economic standpoint, understanding the challenges of these small, you know, companies and farmers. What are they up against? You
I was
know?
just gonna say that. I was gonna say knowing your audience when knowing the fact, even just the idea of transportation, there might be crossing those 6 lanes and there might be an option. But actually, I had a client yesterday where the reason why she couldn't attend one of her meetings was because there was a 2-hour wait with the transportation that was set up. And by that time, she was mentally exhausted. It already, it took courage for her to admit that she needed help. And here it is, she put herself out there that she, okay, I'm going to go to this meeting, and then the services was set up for her. And then the transportation was 2 hours late. And so understanding that if she develops that courage, maybe, I don't know, giving her the ultimate solution for that was we set up an Uber account for her, and put some money on so that if she, if she gets up the courage to attend the meeting, then she can go straight out there. But, and that's just an example, of course, but knowing the audience, because it goes past the transportation. I have other clients where SNAP benefits, it's a pride issue. It's a, hey, I went from, I have one veteran who was like, I was a colonel in the army, and now I'm, having to go out and seek food. And, that's a hurt on his ego. He's very prideful about that. So figuring out what is not only the constraints, how do I say, the deeper understanding of what the population that you're trying to serve.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us.
Of
Yeah.
course. I've been on for a while just listening in.
I just realized that. Thank you.
Awesome.
I mean, from the city's perspective, what we've been talking about the changes to the staff beyond the education is like because you can no longer purchase like a lot of processed food.
Yeah.
Is we're like, okay, well maybe that opens up the door with the neighborhood corner store to a year ago. We're like, oh, we're not interested, but if they want to keep that revenue, they kind of have to introduce some
Right.
more fresh produce into their store in order. So that opens the door for us too with our goal
Yep.
of getting those 20 producers,
Yeah,
into those neighborhood corner stores.
absolutely.
So.
And I wonder how much money that they will be losing. That was my first thought is the grocery stores and your big retailers aren't going to be the ones
No,
that
no.
suffer. It's those
There's those little-
convenience
yeah.
stores.
That serve as the hub for food in the
Food,
neighborhood.
yes, exactly.
Regardless of what the food is. Yeah. So.
Wow.
We'll see them stocking Coke with cane sugar because that's allowed, but not Coke with cane sugar.
Oh my gosh, stop.
So they're just gonna switch.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I had a very interesting conversation about that with somebody. I don't really believe that we should restrict things like that.
No, I don't either.
I feel like that's demeaning.
No, for sure.
It's like, because so if basically if you're rich, you can be fat, but if you're poor, you can't.
Yeah.
And that's how I hear that. And I had a really, really good argument with a friend of mine who I'm trying to get her to join this group. She would be great at debating with us, but
And I think that so the success stories have come from incentivizing fresh fruits and vegetables. So doubling the
Right.
dollars, or in some locations, it's these free $20 bundles, or you get a $20 bundle for $5 or $10. Like how you guys go out and you do the bundles. So incentivizing versus punishing, I think is always
for
the
sure.
right, or limiting. I don't say punishing.
it's a
Restricting,
mentality
for sure.
of have more
Incentivize.
good,
Yes.
not restrict the bad.
Just
Right.
Add more of the.
And then the education comes from the choice, right?
Exactly.
So like educating and
And how your body feels.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a long-term
Yes.
thing. Like you have to eat healthy for a while.
For a
You're like,
while.
"Oh, maybe the broccoli is better."
To be honest, it's a delicate, I'm sorry. To be honest, it's a delicate balance with the incentivizing, because if you incentivize too much, it's how do I say, getting something for nothing is a little bit of a turn off with certain types of communities. So adding in, and of course it's a delicate balance, competition, maybe, I was in a heart association program where, depending on how much foot traffic you had, walking around, if you were there was a first place, second place, third place with the mileage. And yes, there was an incentive, to complete the program, but then an additional, $25 if you, were in the first, second, and third place, just using that as an example. So it created something that they were working towards, rather than receiving that handout, mentality. And then it also gave a slightly competitive edge, so that, when they met on a weekly basis and we reported the mileage or the time to them that people were out and about, they were like, oh, I'm going to get you, next week, or I'm going to step it up. I got to step it up. And, it created the rapport, it created the competitiveness, it created the work. So it's a delicate balance of, yes, incentivize, but, and then what,
Right. Right. Absolutely. I love the competition aspect. Like even with kids, you see them get involved. They're, they push a little bit harder. They're excited about it. And then the conversations about healthy stuff, right? Like,
right.
Which is, I think, awesome.
Well, and peer-to-peer encouragement is gonna be
for sure.
at any time.
Yeah,
Your neighbor talking to you about it. That's why I love the community health promoters program so much. The promotoras de salud, because it's never the same. If I'm a stranger, I'm coming in to say things, and if your neighbor's like, hey, I didn't see you walking yesterday. So no, I agree. We do need to move away from this just handout mentality.
Good discussion, I think. Where we going to do this article, I did just want to remind you, Homegrown Hillsborough conference is in December. I know I'm going to mention it every meeting. So that you're all it's like, have our
both days.
Yes, awesome. Okay, yeah. So
Where's the venue?
It's going to be at Yingling Craft House.
Okay.
Gorgeous venue. It's not. It doesn't feel like you're in a bar, the whole time. So we were kind of like, let's go.
We're gonna come to the dates one more time.
I don't know. December 3rd and 4th are like the big days, and really the 3rd is the like big learning day.
Okay.
The 4th is going to be brunch and then tours.
Okay.
And then on the 2nd we're doing like the social happy hour. So we'll do that on the 2nd in like the evening, probably like 4 to 6.
Okay.
So if you need to leave work early, you can leave work early. And then if you don't want to leave at 4, and then that'll be at Yingling as well. So we'll have it there, so you'll know where to go on Wednesday. And then on Wednesday will be the full day of like lectures, keynote speaker. We're gonna do some panels and like workshops.
Okay.
So for the social hour, I like to bring my daughters at all.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's totally open
Okay.
for I think we're gonna have like some like rules as far as like drink tickets, like you get 1 drink ticket, and then if you have a guest, they get 1 drink ticket. But then I think we're saying like 2 kids is fine.
Okay.
Before we have to be like, okay, you have to buy a ticket for them. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like it's totally.
I just want to make sure it
friendly.
wasn't 21 and over.
No,
Yeah,
it's
so
not
that's
truly.
That's all.
Family friendly venue, we'll have games out and everything. Yeah, no, totally. We
Okay, cool.
always try to accommodate, families.
Thank
and
you. We
stuff.
appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard sometimes.
No, we get it. So that's a good question. So that'll be on the 2nd. And then, the 3rd will be the bigger day. And if you guys are interested in like leading anything, we're going to probably open an application. So just keep that in your head.
Okay.
And then for our new business, we did a lot of discussing of articles and stuff. So this one's just one more. And Mel, I can direct you to it as well. I emailed it to Janine, but I figured we would take, I don't know how long it will take you to read this, maybe 20 minutes to kind of go through it, get some points, and then come back together and talk about it. So we'll start talking back at about 12:30, unless you guys all finish and are like, all right.
It's pretty long, so.
Yeah, like it's a there's some charts in there.
I don't have my reading glasses, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's on the platform. Like if it's easier for you to read.
No, I'll be good.
Thank you for printing these.
I figured it'd be easier that way. I'm like,
So you said I can access it on the platform?
yeah, so I was trying to pull it up so I could show you what it looks like. Or actually, I'll just drop the link in the chat for you. That'll be easier.
Okay, perfect.
Oh no, it's not that. What's this called? There you go. Okay. Alright, so that's the link there.
It's crazy that there's 2.1 million farmers in the United States, though.
Yeah.
Seems like a lot.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like, what does that exactly mean? You know, some people.
Yeah,
are
yeah,
farmers
that's
and they have
true.
one acre.
That's true.
Which is fine.
It'd be interesting to see that number now.
Yeah.
I stopped reading and just went to the charts, honestly. I was like, let's just understand the chart.
Charts are valuable.
Yeah. And honestly, what you're reading is a summary of the chart. Right. I'm like,
Exactly.
And that goes back again to education, right? And understanding like
What you're
the
getting,
nutritional
yeah.
value of the food you're eating and why the price is different.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, this carrot might be cheaper, right? But it's not as nutritionally dense as the one right next to it.
And that's what's happening with tech right now, which is really interesting, right? They're trying to develop nutrition, like being able to rate the nutritional density
Crazy.
of like
So
carrot in the grocery store and carrot that just came out of regenerative, lively soil. So I think that yeah, there's gonna be a lot of education around that. And I mean, I know if I'm eating a local nutrient dense meal, like even nutrient dense foods versus processed foods, you feel fuller, you eat less. And so I explain to people too, sometimes it's like, yeah, you're gonna, it's a little bit more, but you eat less of it, you feel better. So to have data attached to that, right? Then it's like, but then the conversation is like, is that accurate? You always have the tech and then you have the other side of it. And there's been a lot of conversation around hydroponics and grown indoors. So this nutrient density may help with some of that. Yeah, I think that's.
I'm curious why, because like for the institutions, they said that they have a major barrier of low prices for my products, but that wasn't as much of an issue for direct to consumer, direct to retail. So I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Because when you go direct to institution, they want a lower price.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
like when I'm selling direct to you as the consumer, I can sell my
So
lettuce
you
for
really make less
$6.
money.
Well,
Institutions.
So you do, unless you're moving volume.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which a lot of these people obviously aren't with $10,000.
and that was one of the barriers is like they don't have a lot of the volume. So if you're going direct to institution, you're typically selling that at 40 or 50% less to that institution than you would selling it directly to the consumer.
That seems wild to me,
Mhm.
honestly, but
that's where sometimes incentives for the institution to purchase local, right? That becomes or they understand the value and they pay more. And that's actually, so when you get into the food hub side of it, that's sometimes the food hubs are good at negotiating those higher prices.
Okay.
And you don't have to have that high volume because you're able to farmer A, B, C, and D. I'm able to get my 100 heads of lettuce from. And then but yeah, that's why. Because it's direct to the consumer, there's not that person in the middle.
To me, in my mind works like, okay, well, the consumer, then they're going to raise the prices. And so you would think it would be lower than going direct to an institution where they're just using it to serve people food. You know what I mean? But I mean,
they're trying to do that in the most cost effective way. So you're essentially trying to change that narrative of you're not going to buy the head of lettuce at Cisco for 62 cents. You're going to, because of the economic implications of buying local. That money stays in, you're developing all of that. And that's actually what one of the podcasts was talking about within the Food Hub, was getting institutions to understand the value of purchasing local.
Yeah.
Sometimes the farmer, you get frustrated. You're like, there's a value in that. Like,
that's providing jobs.
Like, why do I have to tell you the value?
I think that's why it's important to know these institutions, what are their driving factors, because a lot of times they don't care. Like, I hate to say it, but it's true. That's why someone mentioned earlier the importance of knowing your audience. What's the driver? Because if, and people don't understand too, like grocery stores, they're not there to address hunger. They're there to make a profit. And so at the end of the day, a lot of times, like they want the lowest cost. And in their minds, it's like, okay, if I'm purchasing in bulk, that per piece price is going to be lower than if you as a farmer were to go and sell direct to consumer, because you can essentially like get more for your bottom line, but at the same time it just depends on quantity, right? So it all comes down to that per piece price. Are you selling lettuce at, I don't know, $5.59 per piece direct to consumer, or do you have the capacity to produce thousands of heads of lettuce and sell them for $2.99 a piece? So it's kind of like weighing your options, but just kind of going back to that comment of knowing like what's driving these institutions. Are they wanting their products to be more accessible to their audience, or are they just like profit at the end of the day? Like, we don't even really care. We just want to make a profit. Or is it a little bit of both? So.
And I think that sometimes the direct to consumer, there's in the graph it says like there's not a market for seconds, right? Because when you're going direct to the consumer, they want like the nicest. So having that other outlet to maybe an institution or a food pantry would be a good outlet, because it doesn't have to be that grade A. It can be a grade B.
Right.
Like your
or restaurant
crooked cucumbers. Yep.
It's still so amazing to me that like such a small amount, even advanced beginning farmers get to that $100,000 point,
Yeah, and I think the definition for small is under 150, under 350, I think. 350. And then it's 350 to $1 million as a mid-sized farm, I think, from a sales.
Like acre wise?
No, it's based off
sales. Oh, okay.
But
really,
and then you look at Meacham, right? They're an incredible model for how much you can grow and directly sell to the consumer on a small space. Tanner at Theo's Harvest is the same way. He, with where he's at. And so that market gardening, that education of like for new and beginning farmers of how can I be profitable? Like it's so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of labor that we've already invested, one person kind of working for me because I can't be in the farm. So the amount of labor I've invested just to get her to get seeds started and mix the soil for the seeds is just, clean the pots, mix your soil, and then plant the seeds. it's a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and then you're like,
Yeah, when you're making such a little gross sales, like,
Okay.
it stops you from being able to scale up.
Mhm.
So now I see the importance to where people are wanting interns.
And a lot of times, yeah, and a lot of times you have to do the job to get the job. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't necessarily go and apply
Oh,
for
for
funding
sure.
as a startup farmer if you've never farmed at all, right? Like you could be like, hey, I have this land I want to farm on. Can you give me some money to get started? They're like, no, you got to farm first.
Yeah.
So that's a barrier to market entry.
I also kind of thought it was interesting that a very low percentage of them marked their food as locally grown. Like in
I thought
marketing.
that too. Yeah,
I was very surprised. I mean, I know this is a little bit old, but not that old. Like it's still
a thing back then.
yeah, it's still a thing, 3 years ago to be, because people want to buy local food. Like when I'm at the store, I am trying to look where it's from.
Mhm.
Like I'll buy a watermelon from Florida before I buy one from California or whatever. But
yeah, I wrote that down 7%.
yeah, it was so low. I was really surprised. I feel like that's kind of a key marketing strategy. But I don't know, maybe I don't know about farm marketing as much as I thought. And so like how do we kind of capture these people? Yeah, how do we capture these people and try to, I also thought that I was kind of surprised about like what they didn't have very many like reported issues of reliability for the direct to consumer. Because I feel like through markets and stuff, like it rains, you're kind of out of luck. Like I feel like there's a lot of variability, especially with like the market, kind of. You probably get good sales around tax season, and you probably have bad sales around whatever time.
Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas, exactly. So I was kind of surprised that reliability for direct to consumer wasn't as much of an issue.
Yeah, and then with the thinking about the food hub model, right? When you go in, some of the things that I thought was interesting is that it really does help them diversify revenue, and hubs are more reliable.
Yeah.
So versus the direct to institution, which could be unreliable, where they just cut that contract. So using a food hub as an aggregator or even a broker of some sort to be your sales agent seems to have helped a little bit with another outlet versus trying to go direct to the institution yourself. Because if you only have a case, and not taking your case. Right?
Yeah.
But the food hub allows 10 farmers with cases to bring it. So I thought that was really good. Helped our case. And then I thought the demographics, right, were a little like, whoa, just shocking. Like, oh, I am the typical demographic of a startup farmer. Like, I thought I was late to the game. I guess I'm a little.
I found that interesting too.
Yeah, I thought it was like people working in corporate America for 20 years, and they're like, "Now I'm over this."
My 5-year corporate retirement. Congratulations are like, I'm done with my life the last 5 years, right? But
no, congrats.
Thank you.
I'm
but,
sure you have a different level of peace not being in corporate America.
It's so interesting because when it's different level of peace, but at the same point, there's still such a high level of uncertainty.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I thought in 5 years I'd be like, smooth sailing, right? Like, but a lot of the things that this touches on and things we've touched on were barriers that I have.
Yeah.
And things that I was lucky enough to have 401k at one point, to invest in my own business and dream, right? And like to be able, so thank you. I think that there's a level of just hopefully inspiration that maybe, when things move faster, I'll be able to say, no, just keep going.
It was worth it, yeah.
It was 100%.
Yeah.
100% was worth it. I'm sitting in this room talking about things that I'm passionate about. So yeah, my tangent, but yeah, but that does make sense.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and that is kind of when you get established more, and then also, a little bit older, right? Like that is where you kind of start to question legacy, and I want to leave something. I want something more fulfilling than this.
Sorry, just quick question. Do you always have to be ready to pivot as things change?
100%.
And how does that look like for you now, even after the 5 years?
So, it's interesting. I started the class with that quote of trying to do too many things and be too many things to too many people. And that is literally, I have to say yes a lot, even though I know it's going to stretch my resources thin because I've had to pivot so much. So one of the big pivots was I was only going to source local and naturally grown. that was one of my biggest pivots, was that unfortunately, when I'm purchasing only from small direct growers, I'm a startup. So I was only growing a little bit of things. I don't make a lot of money a lot of profits off of purchasing from the growers. Plus, I take all the risk. So one of the pivots was to start to incorporate regional produce, and then also to always have like bananas and avocados, because
That's popular, yeah.
it's popular. And the pivot comes from, now my customers know and we're transparent. But yeah, it's a constant pivot. We started with a mobile market, and then we had to pivot to a farm stand on our property, because I'm lucky enough to be zoned ag where we can do that where I live. But now it's pivoting for contracts and pivoting for developing programs that align with what we're seeing coming down from Washington and where the funding is going. So I think that that's really important in any business, is you have your mission, your vision, your values, which you always stick to, but you have to be able to pivot to the economy, the consumer, and the opportunity.
How many people visit your farm stand a day?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Did that answer your question well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we're only open 3 days on our farm stand. Last year we were up to about 20 people on Tuesday and Thursday, and about 50 on Saturdays. We're open 10 to 3, and we typically have about 13 to 15 deliveries. Our deliveries really do carry our business. It carries our business from a sales standpoint, which was another pivot. But it also is it's a lot more labor, right? So to pack the orders and get the orders out. So sometimes it's break even, but at least we're selling the stuff and I'm not sitting on it.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and then the biggest pivot is contract work, as I meet these partners and listening to what their goals, their needs, what data do they need, and being able to develop programs that fit and then pilot them and try them out. But I'm always pivoting. You'll ask my husband, he'll be like, stop pivoting. Let something work, right? But it was funny, they said fail forward, right? That was when we walked in. But Target had a really great saying that I loved as a leader, is that we failed fast. So we tried it. And as a corporation, if it failed, we moved on quickly. We learned from it. And I have taken that lesson as far as like, even with what I'm growing. Last year, I grew way too many varieties of different things, right? And some of it worked, some of it didn't. But now, failed. So now what can I do? People loved herbs. I mean, people just wanted, I made more money on fresh cut herbs. We have all these buckets like lining our farm stand, and people that's what they like. So they like to watch us walk over fresh cut basil. That's a $4 cut.
So interesting.
It's a $4 or $5 cut, right?
So cool.
And they like their kids to come with me when I do it. You know what I mean? Like, so they can walk over.
Cool.
It's barrels all the way around, but there's education and engagement. And I was like, I just made $40 off of basil.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's like, dude, I'm not buying basil from you, but which again, do what we're doing allows the farmers to pivot. So for instance,
that's so cool.
Thank you. Collards and kale. Let's use that as an example. Last year, the farmer I was working with had so many collards. He was like, Nicole, I'll give them to you for $1 a bunch. Just take them. I still couldn't even sell them at like $2 a bunch, because there's a lot of education and teaching people. But his spinach, we could sell at $6 or $7 a bag. And I would sell out of that spinach.
Yeah, which is
all
crazy.
day.
You can get it for like $2 at the grocery store, yeah.
But that's what people wanted, right? So now he planted more of that, which I think, in relevance to the article, that is the benefit of working with a food hub or somebody who's helping be that connector. Because as the farmer, you really don't have time. Like, I'm not farming on my property. My team member is now the one doing it. As much as I want to be the person planting the sunflowers today, it's like, but in reality, being able to be out in the community helps my farm, but it also helps the other farm. So I think that's in reference to the article, providing different outlets to farmers helps them be successful and increase their sales.
So let me ask you a follow-up, because I've noticed, like, one of the things I've noticed in reading that is seasonality, like shows up everywhere. Like I noticed like that's probably within the top three. I don't know,
Yep.
did you guys make that same observation?
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
I know with our goals for economic development, one of them is, like supporting infrastructure, like, maybe greenhouses or to extend like the seasons. Is that something, Nicole, that you're running into or I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
Like when I
we
read
tracked
that, I'm
some
like,
of
oh,
that.
that falls right under our area too of
Yeah.
supporting infrastructure.
We ran into that a lot. We actually prepped the whole site for NRCS, applied for a greenhouse where the only application, the funding got cut. So we invested close to $12,000 into the soil and the labor that was needed to create a larger plot that would essentially a greenhouse would just go up on top of and have the money to purchase a greenhouse. So funding is where we were looking. So I think greenhouses do extend, but there's also shade cloth that can help. And then so I think with seasonality, especially here and up north, you run into it a lot because everything freezes, but you have root crops. But what we run into is the reason why seasonality is an opportunity. I'll just use Tanner, who does a lot of root crops. So he does your beets and he does carrots really well, potatoes really well. He doesn't have the storage to keep them, like he doesn't have the storage to harvest thousands of pounds where then we could have those available all season. Because your carrots is a storage root crop, they would be available. They'll last through the summer season with proper refrigeration. So the same thing up north, there's growers that can grow into November, December. And the other problem is processing, right? We don't have the processing ability to preserve that. But education comes with seasonality, right? So maybe we have Malabar spinach instead of the arrowhead, or we have hibiscus, that's a seasonal crop that we grow in the summer. Sweet potatoes, but it's the succession planting and it's hot, right? Like, so do I really want to grow? And you run into a lot more bugs and a lot more issues if you're growing in July and August and your field doesn't get a break. So that's another, when you're thinking of regenerative, being able to plant that cover crop, till that in, and now you have better products. So seasonality is going to be an issue. That's why I think food hubs is important to have a regional approach. Whereas you can, if it's coming from South Florida, we can get growers in South Florida all the way up to maybe North Georgia. That would limit the seasonality opportunity when we bid on larger contracts. So say we bid on CCO, right? And they want to have lettuce all year. That's easy because we can have a hydroponic lettuce grower do that. So infrastructure for indoor would also be, that's an answer to it. Indoor, or like you said, the greenhouses. Greenhouses just extend. I don't think it would eliminate that seasonality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I thought it was interesting that a lot of the newer farmers have more education.
Yeah.
Than the long, so they are set up a little bit more for success, even though the numbers don't look like it yet. I don't know. Who knows what they actually studied though? So
Yeah.
If they didn't study business or marketing or farming, it doesn't really help if you have a degree in communication like I do.
Oh, I feel like you could lean into that, right? So funny. But I think, the other thing with seasonality is marketing. That's a huge part of it, is education and marketing around like, hey, we're not growing. And fresh from Florida, right? But I still think people feel like we should have citrus in the summer.
Yeah.
We should have strawberries in the summer, right? We only have watermelon, like, we're done, right? So, but it's I think the education, like we don't have regular citrus, but we have star fruit or we have dragon fruit type thing.
Yeah, people have no idea like what you can grow here compared to in the grocery store.
I had a lady like come by stand outside working in the yard and beeping her horn.
Oh my God.
Why would you be closed? It's the middle of the season. Yeah, like 2 days ago. And I said, we open next week, right? But she was from up north.
Oh, okay.
So she didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's marketing and education, right?
There's something fun. It's really hot here. What's growing right now?
So funny, like on Google it says we're close. Like I just wanted to come by and check it out.
Just beats. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. Like I have, it's so funny.
It's hot
It's like,
outside.
write me a note online. You
Let me
know?
invite
Yeah,
you.
literally.
Show up and yeah.
Well, and that's the part,
That's
that is one of the like crazy parts of having a business on your
Yeah,
property.
Yeah, you can never turn off.
Yeah, it's just very interesting.
Any other takeaways from this that you guys want to? How can we like use this data to help our goals? Like, how can we get to our goals to help people increase? Now that we know a lot of the challenges that they're facing, how can we use that? I saw a lot of like, I don't know. I just like the way that they did this, telling you which things are minor challenges, major challenges, or sorry, barriers. And then like agree or disagree for. I really saw that a lot of people, pretty much everything they did, they did it because they wanted to build relationships with the
Yeah.
community.
Mhm.
So like maybe trying to like show the value of how you when you diversify like this, and a lot of the problems too were also maintaining relationships. So it was like, how do we maintain those relationships and continue to build them with your community and get like a community reputation that'll support you, you know?
You know, that's really interesting. One of the things that caught my attention, and I underlined it a couple of times when it comes to maintaining relationships, is that I always tell people you either run the program or you manage the program, because it's two different things. So if you're in the mindset of producing or you're in the mindset of relationship building, and you can't just call people when you're going to sell something, because then it feels pitchy, you know, like you only need me when you're giving me money, but it takes so much time to build relationships. It's almost like you need a person to be the face and then a person to be the other stuff.
Right, and I think that the key to why we saw the difference in direct to institution versus direct to intermediate is because that intermediate is building that relationship. They're showing up, they're buying it no matter what, because and that's the same thing within that Food Hub podcast. Like, that's what they talked about, is that they actually bid some contracts, got paid for that contract, but gave that money to the farmer before they even harvested anything.
Wow.
So they shifted some of that initial upfront.
That's good.
Because then it allowed the farmer to not have to put labor and all of that on a credit card until they got paid, right? So I thought that is a huge benefit. And you're right, it's that conversation. And sometimes after farming all day, I don't want to have to tell people how good this stuff is, because you should want to invest in that. Yeah. But when I have my sales hat or my pitch hat on, then I'm able to go in and pitch why you would spend $2 extra a head of lettuce, because the health outcomes of the community are going to actually save you $4 a head of lettuce.
Exactly.
And that's where I think sometimes that education within the farmer and having a food hub or a intermediate person be able to have some of those even workshops and different things of like, why would we want to, and I don't, I'm not charging for a consulting type of fee, but I am selling Tanner's stuff all day long. Right. But you get that extra cheerleader and sales agent where you can just be focused on the growing. But even now, I think it's 52% of farmers that make over 100,000 have a second job still.
Yeah,
Isn't it crazy? Because the amount of work. So,
because it's a passion job. It's not a profit job.
Like, what percentage spent 50% of their time or more? And I wonder what that means by their time.
Yeah.
Is that out of 40 hours a week, or like their life? I
think their life.
Out of 24 hours a day, or is it out of 8 hours?
Right.
Like, dream question.
That's how I read it. I was their life.
Yeah.
Like it felt like this is a passion project.
If they do like have.
That's honestly why there's such a little diversity in the farming, or mostly white people, and it's because like there's all these barriers.
Access.
Yeah.
And that also
think about the grants that are available to marginalized individuals, and they're hard for them to get if you haven't farmed already. You know, like you have to show, like, which that's what boggles my mind. Like if you have land and you are willing and you've invested even time and education to learn a little bit, and you're like, hey, there's not startup capital typically available. Banks not going to give you a loan to start a farm.
Yeah, because
clearly you're not making money. So that's where community support.
I mean, I guess the federal government subsidizes so much in farming, you know, because you have to in order to grow food,
But
you
when
know?
you look at where the subsidies are going in the size of
The
the
big
farms,
farms, yeah.
that
For sure.
percentage,
Yeah.
it goes, you know what I mean? So that's where those farming co-ops are really kind of cool too, because if you have 10 farmers going in, Clancy, who you might follow on LinkedIn, one of her success stories is she has 12 Pennsylvania farmers that she went for a USDA grant for because her nonprofit's super established. I think she got like 1.5 million and all those farmers got that money.
Oh, wow.
Her organization didn't take any of it, but she was the catalyst to apply, brought everybody together to apply. And because of the success of her organization, those farmers then were able to
That's really
get
great.
funding.
What a
Right, no, that's
Right.
right, no, and that
That
is why, yeah, and so it's nice to see those success stories and know like that can work. If we have 20, how many would you say, 90 something producers, right, in there? And like
a lot.
We don't bet. People can say they're a producer.
Yeah.
it's so funny because people are like, oh, you're a farmer. I'm like, and then I look, I'm like, I guess I
A
am.
little bit.
I would consider you a farmer from my
thank you.
lens.
But like, it's so interesting because it's more of like, you equate, and this is part of that, but you typically equate your job with a financial return.
Yeah.
So then when you're not getting a financial return, you're like, oh no, but we're always told that's a hobby. If you're not making it right, it's not your business, it's a hobby. So I guess I identify as a farmer.
But you are the.
That's funny. Do that. But from this, I think that there's some strong things we can pull for why a food hub would support.
Yeah, and like just to reference back to like as we are moving forward, like, you know, project planning and stuff, be like, are we addressing these barriers with our project, you know?
This will help. Our next couple of meetings are going to be trying to, create plans like that and do some like recruiting so we can have more people show up and we can talk to more people and hopefully maybe some farmers.
Mel, thank you for coming.
Bring a friend.
Can I ask you, what is your day job? Because I'm really intrigued by what you were saying that you do and how you're helping the community so much.
I'm actually a mental health therapist. So yeah, so
Were you at the Tampa Women's Center last night?
yeah, actually, yeah. Hi. Small world. Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely small world. But thank you for asking. Wait, do I need to leave now? I missed that.
No.
Oh, okay.
We're just getting to the end.
No, we're trying
Y'all
to
kicked me
recruit
out
more
last time,
people.
so I wanted to make sure.
Who brought was really great. So thank you so much. I loved what you provided. So please.
Of course.
Bring a friend.
All right, so before we wrap up, we'll do our meeting ratings. Share the screen. All right, for participation, 1 through 5. Nicole, what do you think? Did everyone participate?
Yes.
1 through 5.
I'm gonna say 5.
5.
Right.
5.
What did we accomplish today? What do you think, Nicole? 1 through 5.
I think we went through our agenda, and then I really think we came up with a couple of, especially at the beginning, some action items, and then that we attached what we were doing to what we were doing. So we had a lot of side conversation, but I think that we achieved our goals. So the 5. It was all. I think it was all relevant.
Yeah, 5.
5.
I'll go with 4.
4. Okay. And listening, are people focused and mindful?
I think so. I'm gonna go for that though, just for me personally. I always step back and go, I talk too much. So I'm gonna rate personally, I'm gonna give myself a 3 because I get too excited. I want to step back and listen a little bit more to learn.
What do you think, Leslie?
I think we did good listening, so a 5.
And
I would say 4.
I look forward to it.
And did we stick to our agenda and use our time wisely?
I'm gonna go with a 5.
5.
5.
Oh, it's 5 too.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I know this was like a big talk heavy kind of session, but I think it'll really help us for our next couple ones.
Okay.
Have a good background, and yeah, the other working group watched a video. So sorry, this was maybe I think this was
So
No, it was a good
if we can listen to, if it's all, the 4 episodes for that Food Hub podcast is only an hour,
Yeah,
either
it's
20 minutes.
Mhm.
So I think that would provide, if for the next meeting, we can look at that Food Hub, just look into that USDA Food Hub guideline, because then it'll give us that starting point of what can we do now to support that end goal of a Food Hub. I don't know, but it's.
We'll post them in the group.
Yeah, I'll post the podcast in the group. I posted the Food Hub, but yeah, I'll post the actual like Food Hub podcast as a separate post, because it was really good. You know, sometimes you're like, oh, that was not, but
Yeah, it was worth your time.
Oh, is it only an Apple?
I put it on Spotify. I found it.
Oh, okay.